Rockets, has this ever happened to you where you went to write a answer to a question, but then suddenly every word that came out of your mouth sounded like
that you had you could you do you want.
well, it doesn't have to be that way. Let's see how we can write an actual answer to a question that is Sensei approved. Hello, Or Rockets. It's Miss Tomlinson again. Or, as I've mentioned before in our live video chats, you can also call me Sensei. That is what I'm going to be going by throughout these videos. Today we're going to be learning about Sensei Super World of Writing. I hope you guys are just as excited as I am. This is one of my favorite topics in English. I'm going to finally teach you how to write a paragraph. Now, most of you guys are familiar with this strategy. The strategy is known as the RACE strategy. It stands for repeat, answer, cite, and explain. And I throw in a G because I always want you guys to be checking for grammar. But that is our strategy for writing paragraphs. Almost every single question that you are given is going to ask you to have some kind of paragraph writing as we move on in the school year. So I want to teach you how do we write these answers so that you can get full credit. Now, the reason why we're learning the RACE strategy is because this is the strategy that pretty much tells you everything that you need in order to write a good paragraph. Otherwise, you might end up just giving me an answer with no explanation, no evidence, and that's going to lose points. So you do not want to end up with an answer like that. Those answers are usually fine for message board answers or for questions in a different subject, such as social studies. But in my class, we are going to have to start getting used to writing paragraphs. After all, this is English class, and as I said before, we focus more on the writing part of English. Your reading class, which you either have now or in the spring, is going to tackle the reading portion of English. So let's get into it. The RACE strategy stands, as I said before, for repeat the question, answer the question, cite evidence, and explain your evidence, plus a grammar check. Specifically, repeat the question is asking you to take whatever the question was asking, which, let me say, if the question was, what is your name? You need to take that question and turn it into your answer. Most people, when asked, what is your name, will say, Miss Tomlinson. And that doesn't use the question in your answer. You do need to repeat the question as part of your answer. So if somebody asked you, what is your name? Or sorry, I guess I should say, if somebody asked me, what is your name? I would say, my name is Miss Tomlinson. And that is me repeating the question to help answer their question. Next thing, answer the question. That one's simple. All you need to do is make sure that you answer it completely and use your own words. If you are going to try to cite something, and we'll get into that in just a second, save that for later. I love that you want to cite, but you need to put the answer in your own words. Also, make sure that you answer it completely. For example, somebody might ask me, what is your full name? If all I did was say, my name is Miss Tomlinson, that's not correct. I didn't answer it completely. I need it to be a complete answer. So if somebody asks me, what is your full name? I would say, my full name is Melody Tomlinson. That would be giving them the complete answer. When it comes to questions that ask you two different things, or they ask you for something very specific that requires a little bit more information, You need to make sure you include it all. Otherwise, you can't get complete points. Next one, cite evidence. Cite is just a fancy word that means show. So if you're showing evidence, that's what citing evidence is. Now, evidence does need to come from something specific. For example, now if I use the same question that I've been using, what is your name? Most people would say you don't need to cite proof that that is your name, except there are certain places where you do. So just like how in English there are certain times where you need to cite evidence to prove your answer is correct, the same can be said in real life. For example, when I go to the DMV, which is where people go to register cars or get their driver's license, I need to present my driver's license to them. That way they know that when I say my name is Miss Tomlinson, I have proof showing them a card with my face on it, a card with my name on it, so that they know for sure that yes, I am Miss Tomlinson. So please make sure that you cite evidence in your answers to make sure that it is correct. That there's two reasons for that. One, I'm telling you to, but two, you also want to make sure you have the right answer. This thing forces you to double check yourself because you need to go back and check, where did I get this information from? Is that correct? If it is, then you can cite it. Now I have some examples of how you can cite it in your paragraph. These are called sentence starters, and they are good for you if you are stumped and don't know how to begin your sentence. Next one, explain your evidence. Explaining your evidence is important. You do need to explain how that proves that you are correct. This is the one that I find that people struggle with the most, which is why I've decided to throw in some sentence starters also. This evidence proves that, based on this evidence it is clear that, or this evidence shows that, are great sentence starters for helping you put in explanations. The thing that I look at the most when it comes to the race strategy is it's like you're being a lawyer. And I know some of you guys put that you wanted to be a lawyer when you became an adult. So a lawyer has to go to court, and when they go to court, they need to provide an answer. Is this person guilty or not guilty? Then they need to provide evidence that says whether this person is guilty or innocent, and then explain the evidence. For example, if a guy is trying to say that this person is guilty, he gives evidence that the man's fingerprints were at the scene of the crime. He doesn't get to just leave it there. He has to explain how that proves that he's guilty. He would need to say, because his fingerprints were at the scene of the crime, this evidence proves that he was there and could have committed the crime. You gotta go that far in order to prove that your answer is correct. I know some of you guys might think that the answer speaks for itself and that you don't need to explain because only a baby would need to know how that proves that you're right. But if it helps, you might want to think of yourself as a lawyer who needs to walk through why everything is the way that it is. Or, I know some of you guys are older siblings. Try to explain the answer as if you were talking to somebody who is younger than you. They don't understand everything like you do, so you need to dumb it down for them and let them know this is why it is the way it is. Lastly, grammar check. Now, the grammar check is pretty easy. There's 3 things you need to check for, and I put them out as CPR. So CPR stands for capitals, periods, and correct spelling. If you can remember those things, not correct spelling, right spelling. If you can remember those things, that will get you far when it comes to grammar. Grammar does not make or break your answer unless it is totally incomprehensible, meaning it doesn't matter if you're missing a period because you forgot. You're not going to get a 0 because of that. But if you write something that I can't understand, it's not going to receive a grade because I don't know what it says. This is all well and good, but we need some practice, right? So let's clue in with our other sensei. That's right, there's more of me. I'm going to welcome you to Emo Sensei's Let's Practice segment. Take it away, Emo Sensei. Thank you, T-Sensei. Hello and welcome to Emo Sensei's part of the show where I go over a practice question with you guys. So let's get started. Now, for today's practice, we're going to pretend that we heard something. Okay, we listened to somebody tell us about something, and now we have to answer a question about it. So this is our question. The question is, explain how the great auk became extinct. Okay, well, if you guys don't know what a great auk is, since we didn't actually listen to something, here's a picture. Alright, now let's get into our answer. Now, like I said, we're pretending that we listened to somebody tell us about this thing. So now this is what our pretend answer is going to be. And by the way, the reason we're doing this is so that we can take apart this answer and see, where did I restate, where did I answer, where did I cite, and where did I explain. Let's get into this. Answer. The great auk became extinct in a number of ways. Sailors who landed on Funk Island burned them as fuel, and natives ate them. According to the speaker, men spent several months slaughtering great auks and using their fat for oil, and natives enjoyed eating the bird. These quotations show that because people kept killing great auks for both eating and fueling, the great auk became extinct. Wow, what an informative answer. Notice that it is several sentences long, not just one. This is what a race strategy question answer should look like. But let's break it apart into its pieces, shall we? First of all, where did we restate? Remember what restating is supposed to be like. You use part of the question as your answer. In fact, most people would say that you use almost the whole question in your answer and just rephrase it, or repeat it, or restate it. Hence, why we need to find where we restated. Now, the question is, explain how the great auk became extinct. We just need to find the sentence that uses almost every single one of those words. And it's not hard to find. It's right at the beginning. The great auk became extinct in a number of ways. There we go. That is my restatement. Now, some of you guys might think that I put in a number of ways in the wrong color because I'm labeling restate as red, but some of you might think that in a number of ways is an answer. But let me tell you something. That is not a good answer, okay? That's like asking somebody, what are your dreams for your life? And they said, well, I have a lot of dreams. And they just left it like that. Okay, that's not an answer. The next thing is the answer. Why? Because they're very specific in the next sentence, right here. Sailors who landed on Funk Island burned them as fuel. Okay, that's one. And natives ate them. So there we have it. That is our answer. Why? Because they're actually specific. They tell me how they became extinct. Now, we're not done. Some people like to think that as long as they restated and as long as they answered, that they don't need to do anything else. Unfortunately, in school and in other parts of life, you do need to say where you got your information from, especially if you're not a scientist and there's no way you knew that by yourself, okay? It's one thing if I asked you something like, what did you do today? You don't need to cite from somebody else what you did because you were there when it happened. But if I'm asking you something like, how did the great auk become extinct? You don't know why unless you studied it or somebody told you. So in this case, you're going to say where you got that information from, which is how we cite. Now there's two ways to tell that I cited here. One is the sentence starter that I used. So let me just be clear. It's this sentence. The first way that I know that I cited is because of this thing here, according to the speaker. If I'm saying according to the speaker, that means I didn't say it. I got it from somebody else. And that's how I prove that somebody else gave me this information. I just say it. I got it from someplace else. Now, here's the other part. These things. This one, this one, this one, this one. These are quotation marks. And I know that some people use it to sound sarcastic, but also people do genuinely use it to quote other people. So if someone else said it, this is them using their exact words. So men spent several months slaughtering great auks and using their fat for oil. And, so I have two quotes, natives enjoyed eating the bird. By the way, if you ever come across something where you don't know what the word means, for example, slaughtering, look it up. You are already on a computer, so look it up. Just type it into the Google search engine. It almost always gives you a definition right there, okay? So no excuses. If you don't understand what it says, use your computer. The last one. So we can already kind of cheat because there's only one other sentence, so we already know that this is the explanation. But let's talk about why, okay? Because this is something that gets left out all the time. Like, I got kids that will definitely tell me where they got the information from, but then they won't tell me where they, like, how it explains anything. They think that this means all that they need to know about the great auk, and it doesn't. Just because they used them for fat or ate them does not mean that they became extinct. So you need to say why. Why does that mean that they got extinct? Extinct is another word that I don't know everybody knows, but it means they don't exist anymore, okay? They died off. There are no more great auks. So we need to say why. So, first off, I know this is an explanation because it says, these quotations show that. This tells me you're about to explain the quotations, which is excellent. I want to know how you know these quotes mean that your answer is right. So, if these quotations are showing something, let me know what they're showing. In this case, they're showing, because people kept killing great auks for both eating and fueling, the great auks became extinct, right? That explains it. So not just that they were using them for fat or oil, or that they enjoyed eating the bird, it's that they actually killed them off. There were too many deaths of the great auks, and they weren't able to keep going after that. So there you go. That is our practice together. If you have any questions, of course you can put it down in the comments, or email me, or message me, whatever you would like. Alright? Back to you, T-Sensei. Well, that sure was something. Alright, Rockets, it's time for you to get to work. Make sure that you complete the reading quiz that proves that you did in fact do this assignment, and then get started on your race strategy assignments. Have a good one. Bye.